You screamed for years. You explained your pain, you drew your boundaries in lines that they trampled on as if they were dust. And absolutely nothing changed. Your voice became a hollow echo, lost in ears that deliberately chose deafness. Exhaustion is no longer just a feeling. It is a second skin you wear every single day. You feel the weight of it now, don't you? Every word you spoke, every tear you shed, was the fuel they used to warm their own ego. They weren't listening to you. They were feeding off your desperate reaction. This is the hidden truth that no one wants you to know. You weren't born to please, but they turned you into a hostage of your own need to be understood. Stop seeking approval from those who secretly celebrate your pain. That ceaseless search is the chain holding you down while they dance on your back. But what if I told you that your greatest weapon isn't in your voice? That your inner strength has been hiding this whole time, where you never dared to look. In the deafening void of silence. I challenge you not to feel the cold chill of this revelation running down your spine right now. They are waiting for your scream, your fury, the same old drama that leaves you vulnerable and exposed. This is the cage they built for you, the vicious cycle that keeps you weak and predictable, the stage where you dance for their amusement while losing pieces of yourself. And you will keep feeding this theater as long as you believe you need to explain yourself. The pattern break isn't fighting harder. It is refusing to enter the ring completely. It is withdrawing your energy from their board, leaving them alone with their useless pieces and no opponent. What does a manipulator do when the puppet cuts its own strings and walks away? That terrifying question will haunt them in every second of your silence. Because no one wants you to know that true power lies in absence, not in presence. They told you that you were the problem, that you were too intense, that you were a monster. And what if they were right, but for the wrong reason? Your pain will become strength, and the monster they feared so much will be your most glorious awakening. The monster isn't the rage that explodes, it is the calm that destroys without making a sound. It is the transformation that happens when you finally accept your nature as a rebel by nature. It takes brutal courage to stay quiet when everything inside you wants to burst into flames. It is a savage resistance against your own instincts. A war fought in the silence of your mind where no one can see. Only the strong resist this internal battle that splits you in half. The temptation to react burns like acid in your throat, but swallowing that poison is what makes you immune. Comment if you have ever felt this crushing weight of holding back what needed to be said. The truth hurts, doesn't it? It hurts to realize you have been watering a plastic plant, waiting for it to bloom for you. But this pain is the poison that, in the right dose, becomes the antidote for your definitive overcoming. Wake up to life, they will never change, but you no longer need to wait for them to. Your freedom begins exactly where your need for approval ends. They will never understand you truly, and accepting that is the first step to claiming who you are. Have you noticed that the more you try to explain, the more they twist your words? You bother the system simply by existing outside the script they wrote for you. And now by choosing silence, you break limits you didn't even know existed. They will try to provoke you, poke you, force you back into the old game. But you already feel the shift happening, don't you? That strange sensation of authenticity growing where there was once only desperation for validation. They have already felt the first tremor of this change, the first crack in your predictability that kept them comfortable. You are no longer the script they memorized. You are the dangerous improv, and nothing terrifies a controller more than the fear of the unknown that you have become. They will try to stop you, but how do you stop something that doesn't react? Show who you are not through words, but through your strategic absence in this rotten game. This is just the beginning of your transformation, the first move to claim your true power. Not for them, but for you. To finally breathe without asking for permission. Silence is not surrender. It is the sharpest weapon you have ever wielded, and they are about to find that out in the worst way possible. You thought you needed to speak to be understood, but you are about to discover something much darker and more liberating. What if your voice is, in fact, the only thing keeping them in control of your life? What happens when you withdraw the oxygen that feeds the flame of manipulation? They expected your scream, but they found an abyss, and it is in this abyss that their nightmare begins. This is the moment where everything changes, where the victim dies and something much more dangerous is born. Your pain will become strength, but only if you have enough courage to endure the silence that comes before the storm. The echo of your dead words still resonates in their ears, but you are already miles ahead. While they scream into the void, you are building your empire in the shadows, and when they finally look back, you will have disappeared from their world completely. There comes a night when the noise inside your head is louder than any scream you could throw at the world. That is the night when you stand on the edge of a decision no one will applaud, a decision no one will even notice from the outside. You look at your own life like a battlefield covered in the ruins of conversations that never changed anything, and for the first time you realize that opening your mouth again would be just another surrender. This is the moment when the abyss stops being a threat and becomes an invitation. No one is there to hold your hand while you decide. There is no crowd, no applause, no witness to this silent execution of your old self. It is just you, your heartbeat, and the sharp realization that the truth hurts more when it is too clear to deny. You understand in silence that nobody will thank you for finally choosing yourself. And even knowing that, you feel something dark and sacred waking up inside you, a forbidden inner strength. Your brain begs you to continue as before. It whispers that it is safer to keep explaining, to keep justifying, to keep bleeding in front of people who they will never understand you. The familiar pain has become your twisted comfort zone, a prison where the bars are made of endless arguments. There is a deep fear of the unknown in imagining a life where you simply stop responding. Because if you do not react, who are you then? So your mind starts a desperate negotiation. Maybe just one more conversation, one more attempt, one more chance to prove I am not the villain. You rehearse defenses that will never be heard the right way. Deep down, you already know the hidden truth. It is never different. In this silence before the silence, you finally hear a voice that does not come from outside. It speaks slowly, like a verdict. You weren't born to please. Those words cut through everything you believed for years, like a blade through paper. You see every time you betrayed yourself just to keep peace with someone who lived in permanent war. And then comes the sentence that changes everything. Stop seeking approval. You repeat it inside your head like a forbidden mantra. Stop seeking approval, again and again. Each repetition cuts another thread that kept you tied to the old version of you, the one addicted to pleasing. You feel something shifting, a subterranean awakening, like the ground moving under your feet. Your body reacts as if you were in real danger. Your hands sweat, your chest tightens, your breath comes short, as if the very air is testing you. Your mind calls it fear, but deep down you recognize something else. Resistance. This shaking, this almost panicked feeling, is the shock of an ancient prison being broken open from the inside. It is your inner strength forcing its way to the surface in a brutal transformation. Guilt tries to drag you back, whispering that silence is cruelty. You fear becoming the monster they always accused you of being whenever you finally defended yourself. But this time, there is no attack, no scream, no scene. There is only withdrawal, only the decision to walk away from those who slowly destroy you. And that is not evil, that is pure courage. You do not announce this decision out loud. You do not send a message saying, "From today on, I change." There is no speech, no long text, no speech for attention. Your choice becomes a kind of sacred secret, a hidden truth that belongs only to you. And the power of it lies exactly in the fact that no one sees it coming. Deep inside, your brain starts to understand that this is a violent pattern break. For years, it was trained to chase crumbs of attention after every emotional explosion, addicted to the dopamine of conflict. Now you are pulling the plug. You are cutting the power that used to feed the vicious cycle. And that detox hurts, but it is the beginning of real overcoming. You notice this decision in the smallest scenes, the almost invisible details. Your finger hovers over the send button, but the message never goes. The voice note is recorded, then deleted instead of being sent. The phone rings, and you let it die in silence. Every non-action is a precise cut in the old you, the one who never dared to do it differently. It is exactly in that empty space between impulse and action that you feel the true weight of your choice. Silence is not just the absence of sound. It is a cruel mirror held in front of the one who always shouted the loudest. You also see yourself there, stripped of excuses, without the character you used to perform. This is where the fear of the unknown meets, for the first time, the taste of freedom. And that taste is dark, bitter, and addictive. In that abyss, you discover something no one ever told you, because you disturb the system the moment you understand it. The peace you were chasing in endless conversations was never in their answers. It was always in your ability to walk away from the game entirely. This is the moment when your pain will become strength, not because the world got fairer, but because you stopped offering yourself as a sacrifice. This is the real wake-up to life. You feel a strange authenticity being born, an identity that does not exist to be accepted, but to be real. You start to show who you are, not by what you say, but by what you refuse to live through again. You realize that only the strong resist the temptation to run back to the old pattern just because it feels familiar. And for the first time in a very long time, you choose not to run back. You are a rebel by nature, whether they like it or not. This solitary decision is your baptism in the shadows. There are no witnesses, no applause, no medal. There is only an invisible line being crossed deep inside you. This is the moment where you silently break limits no one else can see, but that have always held you down. And it is here that you understand, with almost frightening clarity. They will try to stop you, but it is already too late. This is the moment where the war moves from the outside to the inside, tearing you apart. You are standing still, but your blood is boiling with a rage so ancient it feels like it could burn the world down. Every muscle in your body is tight, locked in a spasm of pure instinct that screams at you to strike back. It is the battle between the animal that wants to survive and the strategist that wants to win. You are trapping a hurricane inside your chest, and the pressure is building with every second of silence. They know exactly where to cut to make you bleed the most. They are pushing every button, pulling every trigger that used to make you dance like a puppet on fire. They are begging for the monster to come out and play, because they know how to defeat the monster. They do not know how to fight the void, so they try to drag you back into the noise. It takes everything you have not to give them the satisfaction of your anger. Holding back is not passivity. It is the most violent action you can take against your own nature. It feels like swallowing broken glass, shards of words that will never be spoken cutting your throat on the way down. This is the hidden truth about self-control. It is not peaceful. It is agonizing. You are killing the part of you that needs to be right just to survive the moment. And in that death you find the first spark of real power. Your brain is flooding with cortisol, demanding that you defend your honor. It tells you that if you do not speak now, they will win, and the narrative will be lost forever. But you must realize that the narrative was rigged from the start. To break limits means refusing to play a game where the only prize is more suffering. You are not losing. You are exiting the arena while they are still fighting ghosts. This is the pattern break that rewires your entire existence. For years, the circuit was simple. Stimulus, reaction, regret. Now you are hacking the system by introducing a pause that stretches into eternity. You are proving to yourself that you are not a slave to your impulses. This is the precise moment of awakening where you realize you are the operator, not the machine. But make no mistake, the truth hurts like a physical blow. It hurts to let them lie about you and simply stand there, watching the lies float in the air. It hurts to know that they will never understand you, and you are choosing not to help them understand. This pain is the price of admission for the freedom you claim you want. You have to be willing to be the villain in their story to be the hero in yours. You are building a dam against a tidal wave of emotions. The pressure is immense and the cracks are forming, but you hold the line with a savage resistance. Only the strong resist the urge to clear their name when it is being dragged through the mud. You are discovering that your dignity does not depend on their validation. You weren't born to please. You were born to become something they cannot comprehend. They start to look at you differently now, with a mix of confusion and fear of the unknown. The The silence is making them anxious because it gives them no data to work with. They are projecting their own insecurities onto your blank face, and it is terrifying them. You are becoming a mirror, and you disturb the system just by refusing to reflect what they want to see. They wanted a fight. You gave them a funeral for their expectations. Deep down, a shift is happening. Your pain will become strength. Every second you stay silent is a rep in the gym of mental toughness. You are hardening your spirit, turning the soft flesh of your emotions into armor. This is the transformation you prayed for, but you never thought it would feel this lonely. Authenticity is not a soft light. It is a cold fire that burns away everything that isn't real. You realize that you are a rebel by nature, fighting a war of attrition. The rebellion is not in the shouting, it is in the refusal to be moved. You are planting your feet in the ground and letting the storm pass over you. They will try to stop you by escalating the chaos, hoping you will crack. But you are not cracking. You are solidifying. This is where you stop seeking approval once and for all. You watch them perform their circus act, and suddenly, you don't want a ticket anymore. The need to be liked is dying, replaced by the need to be free. You are learning to do it differently, not for effect, but for survival. Show who you are by showing them absolutely nothing. The silence becomes a prison for them, but a fortress for you. While they are trapped outside trying to break in, you are safe inside your own mind. You are reclaiming the territory of your thoughts, which used to be occupied by their voices. This is inner strength in its purest form, the ability to be at peace while at war. You are no longer a casualty, you are the fortress. It is time to wake up to life and see the game for what it is. It was never about communication. It was always about control. By denying them your reaction, you are taking the controller out of their hands. The courage it takes to do this is greater than any soldier on a battlefield. You are fighting your own biology to reclaim your destiny. As the silence stretches, you feel the final shackles drop. You have survived the urge to scream, and now you are dangerous. You have crossed the line from victim to observer, and there is no going back. This is overcoming in real time, raw and unfiltered. You are not just surviving the silence, you are becoming it. Now comes the moment where the air in the room changes, and you are the only one who controls the temperature. You stop looking at them as the architects of your reality, and start seeing them as desperate actors losing their audience. They begin to panic because the buttons they pushed for years are suddenly disconnected from the explosives. This is the ultimate pattern break, the glitch in their matrix that they cannot compute or fix. You watch their confusion grow with a cold, clinical detachment, realizing that you disturbed the system just by standing still. They raise their voices, trying to bridge the distance that your silence has created between their ego and your soul. Every insult they throw is a test, a frantic attempt to verify if you are still under their spell. But you are not there anymore. You have retreated into a fortress of inner strength where their words cannot reach. It is almost pathetic to watch them fight a ghost, striking at the space where your insecurities used to be. They are terrified by the fear of the unknown, because a quiet version of you is a stranger they never prepared for. Suddenly, the dynamic flips, and the predator becomes the prey of their own need for attention. You realize that by refusing to engage, you're forcing them to sit alone with their own toxicity. This is the hidden truth of all manipulation. It requires two players, and you just walked off the board. You are beginning to show who you are, not by screaming your truth, but by refusing to validate their lies. The power they thought they held over you evaporates the moment you stop believing in it. They might accuse you of being cold, of being a monster, or of having no heart at all. Let them talk, because their accusations are just confessions of their own loss of control over your narrative. You are embracing a rebel by nature mindset that values your peace over their comfort, your sanity over their satisfaction. It takes a savage courage to let someone be wrong about you, and not lift a finger to correct them. You understand now that the truth hurts them more than it ever hurt you, because they have to live with the lie. As the silence stretches out, you feel a strange, intoxicating lightness in your chest that you almost forgot existed. You're no longer carrying the dead weight of their expectations or the burden of their emotions on your back. This is the awakening you were promised, the moment the chains turn into dust and blow away. You have decided to do it differently, to rewrite the script without asking for the director's permission or approval. They are still waiting for the old you to come back, but that person is gone, and only the strong resist the urge to resurrect the dead. You notice the way their eyes search your face for cracks, for any sign of the emotional vulnerability they used to exploit. They need you to break so they can feel powerful again, so they can confirm their version of reality. But your face is a blank canvas, giving them nothing to work with, no ammunition to load into their guns. This is psychological warfare at its finest, and you are winning by simply refusing to show up to the battlefield. Stop seeking approval from those who weaponize your honesty against you every single time. The more you remain silent, the more frantic their efforts become to provoke you back into the old dance. They will dig up ancient history, twist your words from years ago, manufacture crises that demand your immediate response. But you see through the smoke now, the desperate theater designed to pull you back into their gravitational pull. Your pain will become strength the moment you realize that their chaos is not your emergency anymore. You are learning to break limits by simply refusing to acknowledge that those limits were ever real. They start projecting their worst fears onto your silence, filling the void with their own insecurities and paranoia. You think you are better than me? They might ask when you never said a word to suggest that. You are playing games, they accuse, when you are simply choosing peace over performance. This is the mirror effect of silence, and it is brutal in its honesty. They will never understand you, and watching them try is like watching someone solve an equation that does not exist. You feel the transformation happening in real time, a metamorphosis that is equal parts beautiful and terrifying to witness. The caterpillar version of you that crawled for scraps of validation is dissolving into something with wings. This version does not need their permission to exist, does not need their understanding to feel whole. Authenticity is not a performance for an audience. It is the private ceremony where you crown yourself. And they will try to stop you by questioning your motives, your sanity, your loyalty to the old ways. But here is what they do not understand. You are not doing this to punish them or to win some twisted game. You are doing this to survive, to reclaim the parts of yourself that were slowly dying in the noise. You weren't born to please them or anyone else. You were born to become the fullest expression of your truth. This silence is not a weapon aimed at them. It is a shield protecting you from their violence. Wake up to life and realize that the real battle was never against them. It was against the part of you that believed you needed them. The silence becomes a prison for them, but a fortress for you. A sacred space where you can finally hear yourself think. While they are trapped outside trying to break in with their noise, you are safe inside your own mind. You are reclaiming the territory of your thoughts, which used to be occupied by their voices, their judgments, their endless demands. This is inner strength in its purest form, the ability to be at peace while everything around you is at war. You are no longer a casualty of their chaos, you are the eye of the storm. As days turn into weeks, they realize that the silent version of you is permanent, not just a phase or a tantrum. This realization hits them like a freight train, because it means they have lost access to the version of you they controlled. The person who used to explain, justify, defend, apologize, and beg for understanding is dead and buried. And in that grave grows something far more dangerous, a version of you that knows its worth. Only the strong resist the temptation to go back and check if anything has changed, because you already know it hasn't. You start to notice the world differently now, with sharper eyes and a quieter heart that sees through the noise. The drama that used to consume your entire existence now looks like a play you accidentally wandered into and wisely left. You realize that your pain will become strength not when they apologize or see the light, but when you stop needing either. This is the overcoming that nobody talks about because it is not pretty or poetic. It is raw, bloody, and earned. Do it differently by refusing to measure your growth by their metrics of success. They might come back eventually, with apologies that sound hollow, or attempts to reignite the old dynamic under new names. But you will remember this moment. The moment you discovered that silence is not weakness but the sharpest blade in your arsenal. You will remember how the truth hurts when you finally face it, that you were addicted to the chaos because it felt like connection, and you will remember the courage it took to walk away from that addiction, even when your hands were shaking. The monster they feared is not the one who screams, it is the one who walks away and never looks back. Now you are holding up a mirror, but you are not the one looking into it. They are, and they hate what they see. For years, they used your reactions as a canvas to paint their own chaos, blaming you for the mess they created inside themselves. But now that you are silent, the canvas is gone, and they are left holding the brush with nowhere to paint but their own face. They scream at the void, hoping you will absorb the sound, but the silence acts like a shield that bounces everything back. This is the moment they begin to realize that the monster they have been fighting was never you. It was their own reflection all along. Without your voice to interrupt them, they are forced to listen to the erratic rhythm of their own justifications echoing in the room. It drives them to the brink of madness, because they can no longer distinguish between your silence and their own guilt. They start projecting their darkest insecurities onto you, accusing you of the very things they are guilty of doing. You watch this spectacle with a cold detachment, realizing that the truth hurts them like a physical wound they cannot bandage. They are desperate for you to speak, to validate their delusion, but you refuse to give them that relief. You notice how their accusations become wilder, more specific, almost like a confession they don't know they are making. They call you selfish, cold, manipulative, using the exact words that describe their own behavior toward you. This is a hidden truth revealed only by silence. A manipulator always tells on themselves when they have no one else to blame. You stand there like a statue, unmoving, while they run circles around you trying to find a weakness that is no longer there. It takes immense inner strength to let them scream lies and not utter a single word of truth in your defense. Suddenly, you understand that you disturb the system simply by refusing to be the trash can for their emotional garbage. They are terrified because they have nowhere to dump their toxicity, so it starts to poison them from the inside out. You see the panic in their eyes, the frantic need to make you the villain so they can remain the victim. But you have walked off the stage, and they are acting out a tragedy in an empty theater with no applause. This is the ultimate power move, forcing them to sit alone with the demons they tried to send after you. They try to bait you with the oldest triggers, the ones that used to work like magic to break your resolve. They push, they prod, they twist reality, waiting for the explosion that always followed. But only the strong resist the urge to clear their name when it is being slandered by a liar. You know that correcting them would only pull you back into the mud, so you stay clean on the high ground. Your silence is not passivity. It is an active rejection of their version of reality. The fear of the unknown begins to consume them, as they realize they can no longer predict your next move. They used to know exactly which buttons to push to get a reaction, but the machine is broken. They look at you and see a stranger, someone whose thoughts are a fortress they cannot breach. This uncertainty burns them, making them clumsy and desperate in their attempts to regain control. You are watching them disintegrate, unraveling thread by thread, while you remain woven tight and unbreakable. You feel a dark sense of satisfaction, not from cruelty, but from the justice of finally letting them carry their own load. For too long, you carried their shame, their anger, their insecurity on your back like a mule. Now you have set it down, and the weight of it is crushing them because they are too weak to bear it. This is where your pain will become strength, the moment you realize you never deserved that burden in the first place. You are witnessing the collapse of their illusion, and it is both tragic and necessary for your freedom. They might try to switch tactics, suddenly playing the victim, crying about how you have changed and how you don't care. Do not be fooled. This is just another image in the broken mirror, another attempt to distort the truth. You must stop seeking approval from someone who only feels big when you make yourself small. Their tears are not for you. They are for the loss of the control they used to have over your emotions. Stay the course, because transformation requires you to walk through this fire without getting burned. You are a rebel by nature, rejecting the script that says you must fix what you did not break. Let them sit in the mess they made. Let them feel the discomfort of their own unresolved issues. It is not your job to clean up their soul while they are busy dirtying yours. You are claiming your authenticity by refusing to pretend that everything is okay when it is not. The silence is stripping away the lies, leaving only the raw, jagged edges of reality exposed. As the projection intensifies, you see them for who they really are, stripped of the power you gave them. They look small, frightened, a child throwing a tantrum because the parent has stopped paying attention. This awakening changes everything. You can never unsee this weakness, you can never fear them again. The monster they tried to paint you as is actually the shadow standing behind them. You realize that show who you are means showing them that you are no longer afraid of their darkness. The silence acts as a vacuum, sucking the oxygen out of their fire until it flickers and dies. They are exhausted from fighting a phantom, from punching the air and hitting nothing but their own pride. You are preserving your energy, hoarding it like gold, while they spend theirs on a bankrupt war. This is overcoming in its most strategic form, winning by attrition, by simply outlasting their insanity. You are the rock in the stream, letting the water rush around you without moving an inch. Eventually, the mirror cracks under the pressure of what it is forced to reflect back at them. They cannot stand the sight of their own ugliness, so they will either flee or collapse. Either way, you have won because you refuse to be the vessel for their self-hatred. You have decided to do it differently, to break the cycle of abuse by removing yourself from the equation. You are safe now, protected by the very silence they tried to use to destroy you. You look at them one last time, seeing not a powerful adversary, but a broken person lost in a maze of their own making. There is no anger left, only the cold clarity of someone who has survived the storm. You know that they will never understand you, and for the first time you are perfectly fine with that. You have found your freedom in the gap between their words and your reaction. The mirror is dark, but your path is finally lit by the fire of your own truth. You walk away, leaving them staring at the shattered pieces of their own ego on the floor. The silence follows you, but now it is a companion, a friend that wraps around you like a warm cloak. You have turned their weapon into your shield, their poison into your medicine. This is the final break limits moment, realizing that you don't need the last word to win the argument. You won the moment you decided that your peace was worth more than their validation. You wake up one morning and realize that the silence is no longer a tactic you are using to win a war. It has become the very air you breathe, a sanctuary where you finally rest after years of fighting on the front lines. You stop checking your phone to see if they have noticed your absence because you no longer care if they do. This is the moment the game changes entirely, shifting from a strategy of manipulation to a state of preservation. You are not holding your tongue to punish them anymore. You are doing it because your peace has become too expensive to trade for their drama. There is a strange and cold comfort in this shadow you have wrapped around yourself like a cloak. You feel the transformation taking root in your bones, turning the soft parts of your soul into iron. The pain that used to drown you is now fueling a fire that burns quietly but intensely within your chest. You look in the mirror and see a stranger staring back, someone with eyes that have seen the bottom of the abyss. The monster they were so afraid of is starting to breathe, and you realize it is not a villain, but a protector. You walk through the chaos of your daily life like a ghost, untouched by the noise that used to shatter you. The storms they try to conjure around you crash against your silence and dissolve into nothingness. You have become the eye of the hurricane, a point of absolute stillness in a world spinning out of control. This is what real power looks like. Not the ability to shout them down, but the ability to remain unmoved. You disturb the system by refusing to be a cog in their machine of dysfunction and despair. The loneliness that terrified you at the beginning has mutated into a solitude that makes you feel like a king. You sit with your own thoughts and find that they are better company than the empty words of others. This is the hidden truth about healing. It requires you to isolate the infection before you can cure it. You are cutting off the blood supply to the parasites that fed on your energy for so long. Your pain will become strength, but only because you have finally stopped sharing it with people who do not deserve to see it. You start to understand that you weren't born to please them, nor were you put on this earth to fix them. That realization hits you with the force of a physical blow, snapping the last chains of obligation. You feel a savage freedom coursing through your veins, the kind that scares people who prefer you weak. They look at you and sense the danger, the unpredictability of a person who has nothing left to lose. You are becoming a rebel by nature, rewriting the laws of your existence without asking for permission. The fear of the unknown that used to paralyze you has vanished, replaced by a curiosity about how far you can go. You are exploring the depths of your own resilience, mapping the territories of your soul that were off limits. Every day you stay silent is another step away from the person they trained you to be. This is a radical pattern break, a glitch in their reality that they cannot patch or ignore. You are proving that you can survive without their validation, and that is the most terrifying thing of all. You stop seeking approval from the gallery and start applauding your own progress in the dark. The need to be understood fades away, replaced by the deep satisfaction of understanding yourself. You realize that they will never understand you, and that fact no longer hurts. It liberates. Why would you want to be understood by people who only speak the language of manipulation? You are learning to do it differently, building a life that makes sense only to you. The silence acts as a filter, stripping away everything that is fake and leaving only what is real. Your authenticity is rising to the surface, jagged and raw, but undeniably yours. You are done performing for an audience that wants to see you fail just to feel better about themselves. This is your awakening, the moment you open your eyes and see the strings they used to pull. You grab those strings and cut them with the sharp edge of your indifference. It takes courage to walk this path alone, to embrace the shadows while everyone else chases the spotlight. But you know that the light they chase is artificial, a distraction to keep them from seeing the truth. The truth hurts, but it is a clean pain, a surgical cut that removes the rot from your life. You are healing in the dark, knitting yourself back together stronger than you were before. This internal resistance is building a fortress that no amount of shouting can breach. You feel the inner strength growing daily, a muscle that was atrophied now flexing with new power. You are capable of things you never imagined simply because you stopped leaking energy. Show who you are by standing tall when they expect you to crawl back, begging for forgiveness. You are not the same person who walked into this silence. You are the one who survived it. They will try to stop you by calling you arrogant, but you know it is just self-respect. The transformation is not loud. It does not announce itself with trumpets or fanfare. It is quiet, like the creeping of roots through concrete, slow but unstoppable. You are breaking limits that you thought were permanent, expanding beyond the box they put you in. The silence allows you to hear your own intuition for the first time in years. It tells you to keep going, to keep pushing into the dark until you find your own light. You are waking up to life, realizing that you slept through years of abuse thinking it was love. The fog is lifting, and the landscape of your life looks different, starker but clearer. You see the exits you missed, the red flags you ignored, the times you betrayed yourself. But there is no regret, only a steely determination never to let it happen again. Only the strong resist the urge to look back, and you are proving your strength with every step. The silence has become your teacher, showing you that you are enough exactly as you are. You do not need their noise to fill the empty spaces in your heart anymore. You are filling them with your own dreams, your own plans, your own voice. This is overcoming in its purest form, a victory won without firing a single shot. You are winning simply by refusing to fight a war that was never yours to begin with. As you emerge from the shadow, you carry the darkness with you, not as a burden, but as a weapon. You have made peace with your monster, and now it walks beside you, ready to defend. You are dangerous now, not because you are violent, but because you are free. You have found the courage to face yourself, and in doing so, you have become invincible. The silence is no longer a shield. It is the throne upon which you sit. They feel the ground crumbling beneath their feet, the last remnants of their control slipping through their fingers like sand. Panic sets in, a cold and primal fear, as they realize their arsenal of tricks is finally empty. This is when they reach for the last resort, the nuclear option they save for when they are truly losing. They will unleash the final card, the one designed not just to hurt you, but to shatter your soul completely. Get ready, because the desperation of a manipulator is the most dangerous storm you will ever face. First, they will try to drown you in a tidal wave of guilt, painting themselves as the ultimate victim of your cruelty. They will weep, they will beg, they will recount every good thing they ever did for you, real or imagined. They will tell anyone who will listen that you have changed, that you have become a cold and unfeeling monster. They are trying to turn the world against you, to isolate you so completely that you have no choice but to crawl back to them. This is the performance of a lifetime, and you are the unwilling audience in the front row. But when the victim act fails to get a reaction, their desperation will curdle into pure, unadulterated rage. This is where they will launch their most brutal attack, using the secrets you once shared with them as weapons. They will aim for your oldest wounds, the deepest insecurities you confessed in moments of vulnerability. Every fear you ever whispered to them in the dark will now be screamed at you in the light. They are trying to prove that they still own you, that they can still make you bleed on command. And for a moment, it works, because the truth hurts, especially when it is spoken by the person who caused it. You feel the old wound tear open, the familiar agony flooding your system like a potent poison. Your body screams at you to fight back, to defend your honor, to scream louder than they are screaming. The addiction to the conflict cycle rears its ugly head, begging you for just one more hit of drama. This is the ultimate test, the final battle between the person you were and the person you are becoming. Everything in your programming is screaming at you to engage, to prove them wrong, to have the last word. You can feel the words burning the back of your throat, a torrent of righteous fury waiting to be unleashed. But then you remember the cost of those battles, the empty victories that left you broken and exhausted. You remember the promise you made to yourself in the silence, the vow to stop setting yourself on fire to keep them warm. This is the moment where your pain will become strength, or it will become your prison forever. So you stand there and you take it, a human shield absorbing the full force of their hatred. You let their words hit you, feeling the sting, acknowledging the pain, but refusing to let it move you. This is not weakness. This is the highest form of resistance, a God-tier level of self-control. You are breaking the pattern so violently that you can feel the timelines shifting inside your mind. You are choosing the agony of self-discipline over the temporary relief of a reaction. And as you stand your ground, something miraculous happens inside of you. The pain begins to lose its power over you. You feel it, but you are no longer defined by it. You start to see their attack not as a reflection of your worth, but as a confession of their desperation. You are not the target of their rage. You are simply the witness to their complete and utter collapse. This is the awakening that changes everything. You are no longer a participant in their chaos. You are an observer. You look into their eyes and you do not see a powerful adversary. You see a terrified child having a tantrum. They have thrown everything they have at you, and you are still standing, silent and unbroken. The look on their face when they realize they have no power over you anymore is a sight you will never forget. It is a mixture of shock, fury, and a profound, bottomless fear of being alone with themselves. You have finally won, not by fighting, but by refusing to be fought. They may sputter a few more insults, their voice cracking under the weight of their own futility. But the fire is gone, replaced by the cold, gray ash of defeat. You have survived their final storm, the ultimate test of your transformation. You have proven to yourself that your inner strength is more powerful than their loudest scream. You were not born to please them, and you certainly were not born to be their emotional punching bag. You feel a strange sense of calm wash over you, a quiet peace earned in the heart of the battlefield. The need for their approval has vanished completely, replaced by a deep and unshakable self-respect. You have finally stopped seeking approval from the person holding the knife to your throat. This is the overcoming that no one can teach you. It can only be learned in the flames. You have walked through hell and come out the other side, not burned, but forged. They say that you have changed, that you have become cold, and they are right. The truth is, you have become the ice that finally put out their fire. You are a rebel by nature, and your greatest rebellion was choosing your own sanity over their madness. You had the courage to do it differently, to walk away from a fight you were programmed to lose. This is what it feels like to show who you are without saying a single word. This moment will be seared into your memory as the point of no return, the final severing of the cord. You have broken the limits of your own conditioning, the invisible cage that kept you trapped for years. You are finally free, but this freedom feels different. It is heavier, more real, earned with blood and silence. You are living proof that only the strong resist the temptation to go back to what is familiar, but broken. You are the living embodiment of a pattern break. You watch them one last time as they stand there, breathless and defeated in the silence you created. There is no hatred in your heart, no desire for revenge, only a profound and empty sense of finality. They will never understand you, and for the first time that thought brings you a deep sense of peace. Your journey is no longer tied to their understanding of it. You are on your own path now. You have woken up to life, and the world looks different from this side of the war. You turn and walk away, not because you are running, but because there is nothing left to stay for. The fight is over, the addiction is broken, the hidden truth is finally revealed to you. They did not change, you did, and that has made all the difference in the world. They say you are cold, that you are a monster, but they do not know what you know. They do not know that the ice that chills them is the same ice that saved you from burning alive. You notice something strange in the days after the last explosion that never came. The world feels quieter, not because they stopped talking, but because their words no longer enter you. It is like a volume knob got ripped out of the wall, and their voice is stuck at a distant murmur. You walk through the same places, see the same faces, but everything looks smaller now. The battlefield shrank when you stepped off it. There is a moment when you catch your own reflection and almost don't recognize the eyes staring back. There is no pleading in them anymore, no silent begging to be chosen, loved, or understood. There is a cold, steady fire, the kind that doesn't flicker when the wind blows. You realize this is what inner strength actually looks like from the outside. Calm, unreadable, a storm under glass. Your pain starts to move differently inside you. Before, it was a weight dragging you down, chaining you to every memory they left like a scar. Now it feels like fuel, thick and heavy, but burning cleaner every day. Your pain will become strength was not just a phrase. It is a process cutting you open and rebuilding you. You can almost feel the transformation tearing through your old skin. You begin to understand the hidden truth behind all of this. You weren't born to please anyone, but they convinced you that your worth depended on their approval. You lived as if every breath needed a stamp from someone else to be valid. Now you are breathing without permission, and it tastes like something forbidden. Freedom always feels illegal at first. You walk differently now, even when no one is watching. There is a weight in your steps, not from exhaustion, but from purpose. You are no longer drifting through life waiting for someone to choose you. You are choosing your own direction. You disturb the system just by existing outside the script they wrote for you. That alone makes you dangerous. The fear of the unknown still lives in you, but it has changed sides. Before, it paralyzed you, kept you chained to what was familiar, even when it hurt. Now it whispers questions instead of threats. How far can you go? Who can you become if no one is holding you back? That fear is no longer your prison. It has become your compass. You follow it into places your old self would never dare to enter. You start to see their world for what it always was, a cage with pretty wallpaper. The rules you followed, the roles you played, the apologies you offered, were all bars on the same cell. You break limits the moment you stop apologizing for your own existence. They will try to stop you by calling you selfish, ungrateful, heartless. But deep down, you know the truth hurts them more than it ever hurt you. You realize you are a rebel by nature, not because you like conflict, but because you cannot survive in chains. Every time you stayed quiet to avoid upsetting someone, a part of you died a little. Now your silence is no longer submission. It is a refusal to participate in your own destruction. That is the purest form of resistance. Only the strong resist the urge to crawl back to their captors. You stop seeking approval like a starving dog chasing scraps from the table. The hunger is still there, but you refuse to feed it with poison. Instead, you start feeding it with small, brutal acts of self-respect. Saying no, not answering, walking away. You do it differently now, even when your body shakes. Your authenticity begins to leak through the cracks of the mask you wore for so long. It is rough, uncomfortable, sometimes even ugly, but it is real. You are no longer trimming parts of yourself to fit into spaces too small for who you are becoming. Show who you are, even if your voice is silent and your eyes do all the talking. The right people will feel it. The wrong ones will flee. There is a quiet moment late at night when you finally admit something you always feared. They will never understand you. Not because you are broken, but because you were never meant to be understood by people who profit from your confusion. That realization hits like a slap and a blessing at the same time. You feel something unhook inside your chest. You wake up to life in a different way now. Colors are sharper, sounds are clearer, but more distant, as if the world is finally outside of you instead of inside your wounds. You are not numb. You are selective. You choose what enters, what stays, and what dies at your doorstep. That is power most people never touch. They still talk, they still twist, they still perform. They will try to stop you with guilt, with stories, with new versions of the same old manipulation. But there is a gap now, a delay between their action and your reaction. In that gap lives your freedom, your new identity, your awakening. You live there now. One day you realize something that makes you almost smile. The monster they always said you were? It finally woke up. But it was never the screaming beast they feared. It is the silent guardian that stands between you and everything that tried to break you. And this time, it is on your side. The moment arrives without fanfare, without trumpets, without a final speech written in the sky. It is quiet, almost anticlimactic, the way all true transformations are when they finally solidify. You're sitting alone, maybe in your room, maybe staring out a window at nothing in particular. And then it hits you like a punch you didn't see coming. You don't need them anymore. Not in the angry, bitter way you felt before when you screamed it into the void hoping they would hear. This time it is calm, factual, like realizing water is wet or fire is hot. They are simply not a variable in your equation anymore. You have stopped calculating your worth based on their presence or absence. That shift is so profound it feels like gravity reversed. You look at the phone that used to control your nervous system like a remote control. Every notification was a jolt of adrenaline, anxiety, hope, or dread, depending on the name. Now it just sits there, a dead object with no power over your pulse. You could answer or you could not, and both options feel exactly the same. That is freedom in its purest form. The power you feel is not loud or aggressive. It is the quiet confidence of someone who finally understands the game. You realize you were never fighting them. You were fighting the part of yourself that believed you needed their validation to survive. That part is dead now, buried in the silence you built like a tomb. And from that grave, something else has risen. You start to notice how different you are in every interaction now. People who used to bulldoze over your boundaries hit a wall they can't see but definitely feel. You don't explain it, don't justify it, don't apologize for it. You just exist in a space that belongs entirely to you. You disturb the system without saying a word, just by refusing to be moved. There is a deep authenticity in you now that makes shallow people uncomfortable. They can sense that you are no longer performing, no longer curating a version of yourself for their consumption. You show who you are by simply being, without the mask, without the apology, without the desperate need to be liked. And the ones who matter stay. The rest fade like they were never real. Your inner strength has become so internalized, you don't even recognize it as strength anymore. It is just how you move through the world now, like breathing. You don't celebrate it, you don't announce it, you don't perform it for an audience. It is the foundation you built in the dark, and now you stand on it without thinking. The hidden truth reveals itself in layers, each one sharper than the last. You weren't the problem. You were the solution they were too broken to accept. Every time they blamed you, they were confessing their own failures. Every time they called you too much, they were admitting they were not enough. The truth hurts, but only when you're still holding on to the lie. You feel the full weight of your transformation when you run into them, or their name comes up, or you see something that used to trigger a landslide of emotions. And you feel nothing. Not hatred, not love, not even indifference with an edge. Just a flat, neutral recognition, like seeing a building you used to live in but have no keys to anymore. That emptiness is not a wound. It is a scar that finally stopped aching. There is a moment late at night when you allow yourself to look back at who you were before the silence. That version of you seems so far away, almost like a character in a movie you watched once. You feel a strange compassion for that person, the one who tried so hard to be enough for people who were never going to fill their own void. Your pain will become strength was the prophecy, and you are the proof. You realize that you are a rebel by nature, not because you chose it, but because survival demanded it. The courage it took to walk away from everything familiar, everyone who claimed to love you while slowly killing you, is the kind of bravery no one gives medals for, but you wear it like armor under your skin. You finally wake up to life in a way that feels almost cruel in its clarity. You see how many years you lost, how much of yourself you sacrificed, how many times you betrayed your own soul for a crumb of affection from people who were never going to feed you. But there is no bitterness in that realization anymore. Only a cold determination never to go back. They will never understand you, and that fact no longer causes you pain. It is just a reality you accept. Like accepting that some doors are locked forever, and you were never meant to have the key. You stop seeking approval from people who were only ever going to withhold it. That door closes, and with it, a chapter of your life ends. You stand on the other side of the war now, not as a casualty, but as a survivor who learned to weaponize silence. The monster they feared was never rage, it was peace. It was the version of you that stopped fighting for a seat at a table where you were always meant to starve. You are finally free, and that freedom tastes like blood, tears, and something sacred you don't have a name for yet. You stand at the edge of a life you have not lived yet, staring into a horizon that does not promise answers, only possibilities. There is no applause, no soundtrack, just your breathing and the steady beat of a heart that refused to die. Everything that tried to break you is now behind you, but the marks it left still burn under your skin. You are free, but freedom is heavier than any chain you ever wore. No one prepared you for the moment after the war ends. No one told you that survival is only the beginning. You thought the silence was the destination, but it was only the door. Behind it, there is a world where you choose who enters and who never crosses your threshold again. You feel the fear of the unknown standing next to you, not as an enemy, but as a guide. It whispers that there are still battles to fight, but now they are all on the inside. You are no longer fighting to be heard. You are fighting to stay awake, to not fall back into the comfort of the pain you already know. You remember every moment you almost answered, almost explained, almost went back. Those almost moments are now your trophies, proof that only the strong resist what once controlled them. Your pain will become strength in ways no one else will ever fully understand. They will say you changed, but they will never know what it cost you to become this person. You carry victories that have no witnesses, scars that have no audience. This is the price of becoming real in a world that prefers illusions. You weren't born to please, but there is a part of you that still aches when you are misunderstood. That part looks back sometimes, wondering if it was really necessary to burn the bridge so completely. The answer never comes in words, only in the calm that fills your chest when you stay where you are. Peace is your proof. If going back means losing yourself again, then you already know the answer. You may miss what you had, but you do not miss who you were. You walk through places that once were ruins and realize they no longer have power over you. The memories are there, but they feel like someone else's story now. You can visit them without staying, feel them without drowning. That is what overcoming really looks like. Not forgetting, but no longer bleeding. You survived the fire, and now you walk with the smell of smoke as your crown. They called you a monster. They never expected you to become your own guardian. There are nights when the silence is so deep that it almost scares you. In those nights, the questions come. Who are you without the chaos? Without the role of the broken one? Without the familiar pain? You realize you have spent more time surviving attacks than building a life. And now, for the first time, you have to decide what to do with all this space inside you. Survival was instinct. Creation will have to be a choice. You disturb the system now simply by refusing to play along. The same people who once controlled you still try to read you, to decode this new version they can't access. They knock on doors that no longer exist, send messages to a number that emotionally died. You don't hate them, you just finally understand who they are. And understanding is the beginning of true distance. You can forgive without returning, and that is a kind of power they will never understand. There is a quiet rebellion in the way you wake up now. You are not waking up to defend yourself, to justify, to explain. You are waking up to build, to choose, to direct your own story. The world is still dark, but now the darkness is yours. You walk through it with a different posture, a different gaze, a different heartbeat. You are not lost. You are exploring. Little by little, you start to do it differently. You say no without essays. You walk away without guilt. You stay where you are not shrinking. Show who you are not by shouting, but by not moving when they push. There is a new authenticity in your steps, even when no one is there to see them. You are not performing strength, you are living it. And that difference changes everything. They will try to stop you again, in new formats, with old tricks and new packaging. They will come with apologies, with nostalgia, with stories about how good it was before. But you know what stood behind those good days? The quiet suffocation you never spoke about. The truth hurts, but you would rather bleed once than suffocate slowly again. You have learned to recognize the poison, even when it comes in golden cups. You have learned that some doors must stay closed, even when your heart still knows the way back. There will be days when loneliness weighs like lead on your shoulders. Days when you question if breaking away was really strength or just fear in another form. On those days, remember the version of you that begged to be heard. Remember the nights you begged for a little bit of the respect that today you give to yourself. Freedom is not light in the beginning. It is heavy until you get used to carrying it. But it is still freedom. You are a rebel by nature because your soul refused to die where it was put to rot. Your courage was not loud. It was the quiet decision not to return. You stopped seeking approval from mouths that were never going to bless you truly. You chose the cold truth over the warm lie, and that saved you. Now, every step you take is an insult to the system that tried to break you, and yet you do not walk for revenge. You walk for yourself. One day, someone will look into your eyes and see everything you went through without ever having seen the scene. They will feel the strength without knowing the pain. They will admire the light without understanding the dark. You won't need to explain, translate, summarize your own war. Who is meant to stay will hear your silence as if it were their own language. Those who are not capable of that were never meant to stay. They will never understand you, and that is okay. So now here, facing this void that is no longer a threat but a possibility, the question remains: what will you build with the life they didn't manage to destroy? What will you do with a heart that learned to beat alone without applause, without an audience, without approval? Will you hide in the shadow that saved you, or use it as a base for something greater? The silence gave you the most dangerous weapon of all: choice. The only thing no one can answer for you is this, and now, who do you decide to become?